This is Abba Leiter, again, the son of Rabbi Zeltwolf Leiter, speaking about his work, his scholarship, and what he did for the general public, the Jewish public, the non-scholar, the educated layman, etc. I'd like you to first remember that Pittsburgh had different rabbis, good rabbis, around the turn of the century, maybe up into the 50s, who were quite learned also. They may not have had the specific skills to approach certain types of people that my father had, but they made each and every one of them, Rabbi Zivitz, other people, would put out a book about him, memorializing him. One of his congregants wanted us to do that. I was an associate editor with my brother David on it. And he was a very special person, Rabbi Zivitz, and put out a work on the Yerushalmi before it was even being dealt with. Several volumes, I think 5 or perhaps more. There was a Rabbi Kochin. There were a number of people who were quite given over to serving the Jewish public during that period, which is called a midbar by many other people, which I've already questioned. There was a Rabbi Freehoff, and Rabbi Freehoff was a Reform rabbi, and he was in that very large congregation, the successor of the rabbi who helped my father and Rabbi Meir Shapiro, Rabbi Goldenson. When Rabbi Goldenson moved to New York, he eventually succeeded him, Freehoff, Dr. Freehoff. Rabbi Freehoff was very enamored with my father, and he showed him a certain amount of deference and respect. My father explained to him that without the orthodoxy over the centuries, the rabbinic traditions, etc., and everything else, none of us would be here today. Judaism as we know it would not even be here. And as my father told me, he acknowledged that, b'peh mole, okay? So one of the people on this Maimonides Institute that I discussed earlier, he writes, I was happy to learn that you're about to activate your long-planned Maimonides Institute. The purpose of the Maimonides Institute fits into the new tasks and responsibilities which in the development of modern history are now incumbent on American Jewry. I congratulate you on your undertaking, your great undertaking, and shall deem it a privilege to aid you in whatever way I can. And he did. He wrote articles about my father's work, the scholarly work, and about his personality. And he also, for the Jewish press, remarks of his appeared in the English press, the Pittsburgh press, also about my father, and how he interacted with him, when he visited with him, and how his speech with Rabbi Freehoff's wife was extremely limited, but he showed great respect for women also. He made that point. He had a very great respect, a profound respect for women, and a lot of that came, from his own mother. As just the same thing with Rabbi Meir Shapiro. He absolutely idolized his mother and what she had done for him and helped make him what he was. So I just wanted to let you know, though, that Rabbi Freehoff was an extremely helpful individual. I have correspondence from him with my father regarding the Shmiras Shabbos, the closing down of the Federation building, I believe it was, in Pittsburgh in 1937 on the Sabbath. There were only 2 of those Federation buildings left open in America, and my father worked many years to get the backing of all of the persuasions in Pittsburgh and the Federation itself to close down that building, okay, on the Sabbath. And that was a very important event and covered by the press, and there were articles in the Jewish press at the time praising my father for what he had done and how he had gotten all the other entities necessary to realize that this was a element bringing together the Jewish people and showing respect for the Orthodoxy, and I guess perhaps even elevating their own experience and understanding of it. Dr. Freehoff was also very instrumental in seeing to my father's effort that Gittin, Jewish bills of divorce, should be given by those who are divorcing their wives. There are a number of letters written to my father about this, and I hope to share them with you, as well as some of the other material that Rabbi Freehoff involved himself in with my father. Everybody asks about Rabbi Freehoff and Rabbi Leiter. There were a lot of people in Pittsburgh, the so-called Frumme, that used to bandy about to some of the other Frumme in New York, that Rabbi Leiter had gone into the other camp, as it were, and was friends with Freehoff, Dr. Freehoff. Believe me, Rabbi Leiter's friendships were very, very carefully structured. It is true, he showed a certain degree of respect and was pleasant to them. He did not deride them. He did not seek to embarrass them. He did not to show that they were just simply amei haratzim. They were simply ignorant people, and perhaps worse, misleading others. There was a certain difficulty in those times, a conglomeration of many, many difficulties. And navigating them was a very special skill. Preserving the Yesodis, preserving the Jewish family, okay? Not just the scholarship and things that they could use to understand if they could get there, but just preserving the Jewish culture for all Jews. This one a little bit, this one a little more, this one even more, etc. There were many people. A young man told me in Hebrew University, a professor in his 90s almost, and he told me the way he had been a son of a congregant of the Gilitzianer Shul, where Rabbi Leiter, the Machzik Yadas, where he was the rabbi. And he walked in and he heard my father saying the Kriya Shema out loud, word by word, mila b'milo, and the entire congregation was still, you could hear a pin drop. And also he saw the books all the way up to the ceiling in the house when his father took him to see my father, and how that influenced him. And eventually he came to Israel, and he came here, and he wrote a book on Aholos, and probably other works too. You understand? And he was completely Orthodox, and his children and his children's children are going in that way. Not Meshiga Orthodox, a little bit more enlightened, I believe, but nevertheless, you understand, quite Orthodox in practice, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of them are continuing this scholarship too. So I think it's very important to know. I once heard quoted the great Goyen, tremendous Goyen, Rav Fischler Hershkowitz, the Dayan in Klosenberg. The rabbi of Satmar is reputed to have said, and I believe it, that he was not mekana, he had no envy for the Klausenberger Rebbe. The Klausenberger Rebbe was too much of a Zionist for the Satmar. He said only one thing that he has Rabbi Fischler Hershkowitz, that is the Klausenberger Rebbe, has Fischler Hershkowitz for a dayan. That he envies. Okay? Well, Rabbi Hershkowitz was once queried about Rabbi Leiter's activities with other people in the seminary going in, and he was reputed to have answered, Rav Leiter make. He knows how to do it, in other words. He's not going to get lost. And also, there is an askama, a very flowery one, written by Rabbi Hershkowitz, Fischler Hershkowitz, regarding the works of my father, etc., and about a forthcoming work which we still haven't finished yet. And you can see there his absolute, devotion to the works of Rabbi Leiter. And I know that he told somebody once, I would like to have the shas of Rabbi Leiter so I could see all of his writings and ha'oras and etc. that he has on the margins. I would love to have that. I think that says it all.